Hi guys, my name is Nicholas Bruno, and for my country tour, I will be doing the country of Cuba. Cuba is part of Central America, and as we can see, its closest bordering countries are going to be the U.S. to the north. To the west, southwest is going to be Mexico. Below it will be be Jamaica, and to the east, southeast will be Haiti and the Dominican Republic. And further south, we have other parts of Central America, as well as Venezuela and Colombia from South America. Cuba is a tropical island. Its climate is tropical and experiences many rainy and dry seasons. Cuba's native language is Spanish, and the three main ethnicities that make up the island are white, mestizo, and black. Its population is said to be around 11 million and 47,251, and that is as of July 2014. As a whole, Cuba is pretty healthy. It has a life expectancy of 75 for males and 80 for females. Its HDI rank is 0.815, and health expenditures in Cuba take up roughly around 8.8% of its GDP. When it comes to education in Cuba, Cuba does not mess around. It has an adult literacy rate of 99.8%, and education takes up about 12.8% of Cuba's GDP. One of the main ideals of the Cuban Revolution, led by Fidel Castro and Che Guevara, was to improve the country's education system so that no matter what a person's socioeconomic status was, they would receive the best free education. Cuba as a whole remains in a communist state. Its president at the moment is Raul Castro, who is part of the Communist Party of Cuba. Its GDP per capita is 6,051.22. Its main industries are petroleum, sugar, tobacco, cobalt, and most recently, pharmaceuticals. A little history about Cuba. Cuba experienced colonialization just as the rest of Latin America did through the 18th and 19th centuries, and as a result of a revolution against Spain in the early 20th century with the help of the U.S., they were granted their sovereignty. From there, Cuba experienced many U.S.-backed dictatorships that truly looked out for themselves and their personal wealth, and only allowed U.S. corporations and private ownership of most of its main industries and exports. Through the Cuban political historical, you had the Cuban Revolution, which came during the 50s, which was led by Fidel Castro, which stood for Cuba, and he very much disliked capitalism and the U.S. imperialism within his home country of Cuba. Of the significant places I chose to show, one of them is going to be right here in the south region of the Sierra Maestre, because this was the first region of Cuba that the rebels stepped foot on, as well as hid out and revamped and trained, and they were supported by local peasants and peasant farmers that supplied troops, food, clothing, any other source of aid that the rebels needed in their successful completion of the overthrow of the Batista government. The second point I am going to show you is going to be Elam, which is the Latin American School of Medicine in Cuba. I found it truly interesting how well Cuba's healthcare system operates and how educated their society is, especially when it comes to the medical industry. This is their largest school and one of their most oldest schools. So I felt it important to show its significance within the country. The third point that I will show you is going to be good old Guantanamo Bay, Cuba, naval base. I find this very interesting. This is truly a very important strategic location for the U.S. military. I did law enforcement in the Navy and was lucky to never be stationed here. I had many friends that were. They did say it was gorgeous. I always found it very interesting how much we paid for it and how we managed to keep this strategic location, even though our ties with Cuba have always been a little shaky from the 1960s through the 2000s. The third place I would like to show you is going to be one of Cuba's largest organiponicos. I really enjoyed learning about agronomy and the organiponico system that was implemented after the special period and how vital they are to the success and well-being of the Cuban population. As you can see, this farm right here is going to supply these urban areas with so much food and nourishment. And this is just one little organiponico amongst thousands in the country that are using old school farming techniques and agronomy to feed their families. And I find it truly fascinating and wish our country would take notice. Lastly, the last place I will choose to show you is going to be good old Havana. Havana is gorgeous and is going to be very important in the growth of Cuba when it comes to tourism. Now that relationships have been, let me say, a little reestablished, Havana is going to be a mainstay in Cuban tourism and will provide lots of economic wealth to the area. I find it very important to acknowledge Havana and all its uniqueness and urbanization, as well as its gorgeous beaches and hotels. Even though it was built by corporations and, of course, the U.S. American Mafia, it still remains today and is a gorgeous part of the Cuban landscape. As a whole, I can say I truly enjoyed learning about the country of Cuba. It is a gorgeous country, and I'm glad they have at least found a little of their way to succeed in the future. I think it's in a little better hands. It's definitely looking out for more of its people and social justice and social inequalities. So I hope you guys enjoyed my country tour of Cuba. Thank you.